Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 4 of my critique of Resident Evil 7. Now, I said a lot earlier about how much I like the little girl's room segment. I honestly think it's fantastic as a segment, as a set piece. This sequence, however, begins and ends at the door. It feels very much like it has been bolted on, almost like it was made separately and added in because the tone and experience of that series of rooms doesn't match anything in the old house. Exploring the old house and dealing with its inhabitants is a very different experience. We were getting some really in-your-face interactions with the enemies and genuinely bombastic gameplay. Suddenly then we're faced with this personal and intimate walk through a set of rooms that has a huge focus on atmosphere. It feels like the game itself was pieced together with a series of different ideas and hoped that no one spot the sewed up lines between the content. I cannot just judge this game on a series of individual good moments, I have to consider the entire product. Did you guys listen to the call you get before you enter the party segment in the game? Let's listen to this again and only think about the moment in writing where you think the player may not know where to go or what to do, so you have the brilliant idea of having a character in the game tell you directly. Just listen.
Hey, buddy. Remember, those 2 key cards will get you into the party. Don't be late now.
Let me talk to Mia.
No! You gotta show up first! You haven't forgotten where the party is, have you? You can get in from the courtyard. So come on, man. Everybody's waiting for you.
Is this not some of the most heinous expository dialogue you've ever heard? Like, seriously, listen to this bit.
You haven't forgotten where the party is, have you? You can get in from the courtyard.
Yes, Ethan, the whole area you've been trying to get to this whole time, just in case you forgot where it is, it's just outside and to the left. Thank you. Anyway, back to some gameplay. The party puzzle in this game is pretty awesome, even though the fact that the balloon apparently had a bunch of nails and a fountain pen inside it is mind-boggling to me, but the completing of that puzzle in the tape was interesting, and you could see how you would get out of it in the main attempt as Ethan. However, something that just doesn't work for the game is that they wall it up and wall it down based on the narrative. Literally, if you pulled the screw out of the barrel, then they spawn the wall to prevent you from escaping. If you get to the point where the bomb is dropped into the floor, you can logically go behind or out of the room, but the wall is just back up. They go as far to make all of this work in terms of a baseline of realism and then forget that there's an obvious escape route, so they just walled it up. Like, this is some very, very cheap and fast design. It's just like, hey guys, we need them to be stuck in this room. Let's just have a wall. I mean, I know you guys could argue that maybe Lucas has an automated system, like a button he can press to lock people in that room, but if he was going to go that far, is Lucas really that stupid? Like, why wouldn't he just make a backup way of making the room catch on fire? Also, the guy reacting to being burnt is hilariously awful. It sounds like he's laughing. The people in my chat were wondering if he wanted it to happen. So, moving on, the fight with Jack, the final fight, is so fucking bad. I'm going to quickly get normal difficulty out of the way and say it works relatively fine, but in the background right now you are seeing the gameplay on Madhouse difficulty, and me defeating it on stream. This boss is such an annoying piece of shit. Pop the eyes, hit dodge when he attacks, rinse and repeat. His attacks, even if blocked, deal a chunk of damage, which makes for a very annoying fight. Looking for his damned weak spots when they can be unavailable until he moves to a specific position, which means I have to watch my health decrease while blundering around, and guess fucking what? To make things more interesting on Madhouse, the developers gave Jack a vomit move that instantly kills me if I'm not on full health. It's so much fun to have to deal with. The creature itself is just haphazardly thrown in as a creature to be in the vein of the usual thing you'd expect from a Resident Evil game. No appreciation for the game that was previously being created. Like, most people don't even know that this is Jack. Most people have no idea who this is. A lot of people assume it's Lucas. Yes, it is the dad, but wasn't the dad super dead? Would have been nice to see him morph or whatever. So something they really did nail throughout the game was the environmental storytelling. This is relevant to gameplay because of the feedback involved. You search, you pay attention, you piece together, you get rewarded. I've been over the holes in the story, but it isn't terrible. No story is really perfect. However, most if not all of it is delivered subtly through the environment. Be it things as simple as damage to objects in particular rooms all the way to diary entries. It is fantastic and something I absolutely love being a part of horror, but would appreciate it really being splashed into many genres. Now it's time for a rather large issue I have. Something that is present throughout the game design for this title. Something seriously cheap and generally avoided by many developers for assistance to the sense of realism. Something that they took too much privilege with and said fuck the criticism to. Something that many reviewers are ignoring or omitting. Enemies teleport a lot. This is almost entirely built for eerie moments and jump scares. Oh jeez, I already feel so controversial. I'm not going to go on a rant about jump scares here. I actually plan to make a video about it years from now, so instead I'll talk about something else. Players can rule out certain things happening in a game. Take amnesia. If you see a creature skulking in one section then it appears behind you, you can have the misconception that there is a teleporting ability. but later find out there are multiple creatures. Resident Evil 7 is not the same beast whatsoever. Enemies are able to turn up all over the place, scripting the player into sequences that are all meant to shock and surprise you. Clearly this was meant for VR, but this video isn't about VR. This happens so fucking much throughout the damned game for shock, it's ridiculous. How the fuck does the deputy not see Jack? It makes about no sense whatsoever. If they didn't put the effort into making him look behind himself, it wouldn't be so distracting, but he just imagines that you dropped the garage door, despite him looking directly at you when it started, and the fact that Jack was right there, for fuck's sake, we know what went down. Fucking magic. Just like so many other sequences, enemies are moved to you in order to create scenarios, literally popped into existence. This shit is so fucking distracting to me, so unbelievably ridiculous that they run it through the whole game in order to add to scares. Scares that I had no choice but to label it as cheap. This is a move the developers don't take because the process goes like this. Hey, the deputy is definitely going to be looking behind him, and then in front of him, and then we also need Jack behind him to kill him. How do we do that? We could have a hatch, or make him jump down from scaffold or the rafters. Maybe he's hiding behind the car. Wait, Frank, what are you doing? Oh, we're gonna make him appear. That's easier. Yeah, that is easier. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. You know, this game is perfectly immersive, right, guys? Why does the machine gun suck so much ass to the point where you end up running around in the ship just booping enemies with the remote bombs? Why do they make the remote bombs so good? Why is the boss fight with Granny so terrible? Just a face with low health and a giant retarded monster also with low health. I covered how it makes no sense narratively and how she behaves or is dispatched is stupid, but the whole thing is just a fucking letdown. God, see, how can you take this seriously as content? Like, people saying they're so tragic about Evelyn and her need for a family, and at the end of it they've got this giant, stupid, fat monster going, I just want a family. The whole bit in the house where you get a rerun of the game is fucking annoying. Seriously, what the hell is Mia doing? Watch this bit, right? This is legitimately me trying to get footage for this game, and I knew that this part was coming up. What I wanted to do was get a strong example of how you can stand still and watch her come at you over and over again. I couldn't find her. God damn it, man. You know what's lazy in video games? When the player has control over events, but the same thing happens no matter what you do. You pick up Ethan's hand, nothing changes. You press nothing in your initial fight with Mia, nothing changes. Moving away from Mia at the end puts you in the same place when you fall, nothing changes. You talk to the deputy with a fucking endgame weapon and Ethan still thinks he doesn't have a gun, nothing changes. You type in the correct code for the first time in the party sequence, nothing changes. You type in the correct code when you enter the party tape, and nothing changes. I've covered little things like this throughout the game, the conjuring of the wall, the killing of Zoe, they restrict you constantly. Why? Because they wanted to script fucking everything. The game must follow a very strict set of rails. I'll come back to this eventually, but overall the gameplay is good. It's an evolution from what Amnesia had popularized, and I enjoy having more interaction and effect on the world. But they really did cheat. They gave us all these freedoms, and they were meaningless in so many ways, restricted in so many ways. I simply hope in the future that we can expand and make a lot more fleshed out things in relation to options and control for the player in this kind of game. So something that's very important about this game is that it's pieced together in multiple layers with a bunch of connectivity. The main mansion itself is unlocked and connected all together throughout the game. It's like a very small version of how Dark Souls connected the lower, mid, and high sections of the game. Despite it being small, it's great, and I loved it. Another thing is that Jack, Marguerite, and Lucas felt as though they had levels that were reflective of their personalities. I love that they had their own areas, and they were all catered while interacting the entire estate in and out. Yes, I feel there were parts here and there that were added on a rush, however, there is no denying that there was a huge level of care and effort put into the level design itself. Did you guys notice that Jack was given a large focus during and moving out of the area that Mia was in focus, and Marguerite was given nods as you moved through Jack's focus, and then Lucas was given his cameo during Marguerite's segment? This added to how the levels intertwine, really added to the flow and the pacing of what made some incredible level design. It kept feeling fresh as well. The mansion was not the old house was not the party sequence. So it really fucking bothered me when you leave the house. Overall, this design philosophy and thoroughness is absolutely shotted out in favor of shooty bang explorer. The level design in the ship isn't terrible, but it's so goddamn poisoned by how players feel at this point. Let me go on a quick tangent. At the moment you've made your choice, many players, including myself, actually expected the credits to begin rolling. This is because of how the sequence is put together. All described bosses are now gone or dead. The two main heroes are cured and on their way home, and we may receive a twist in relation to the story. But then this happens, and I thought, maybe the underlying villain is now revealed and she'll take us back to the house. No, we wake up as fucking Mia. But wait, this is a post-credits scene. This is one of those scenes where, you have a game that has a format for an extended period of time, and then you look like, you do like a dream sequence, or you play as a different character near the conclusion of the story. Off the top of my head, something like Bioshock 2, you play as the little sister towards the end of the game. It's almost like a bonus segment that's coming towards the conclusion. Though this sequence isn't 10 minutes, it keeps going and going and going, and you build an arsenal and you're getting better at dealing with now massive amounts of enemies. Is Ethan coming back? Are we now in part 2 of the game? Why are we playing as Mia? What even happened to Ethan? You find that this is the best way for them to try and deliver information about Evelyn, information that amounts to...
She's vomiting. Far more in excess of her body mass.
This is so laughably bad that I felt the game would actually have benefited without this whole sequence. Please, spare me the very basic fix the elevator problem while making me spam remote bombs and force-fed this bioweapons weird as fuck and yet still incredibly vague backstory. Please, wait, what? Now I'm Ethan again, and the game isn't over? What's going on? Where are we going? What the fuck am I doing? Why am I in a mine? Jesus, the fucking mine. One of two things that have been happening when describing this sequence for reviewers is either they don't mention it at all in their review of the game, or something much worse. They argue that this is the logical, natural, and brilliant design coming to its conclusion. These linear tunnels connected via a bunch of dead ends forcing you to go one way is clogged with incredibly boring and reforced enemies that exist solely to remind you of how good the game was, but no longer. It is such a fucking letdown. What a fantastic set of levels punctuated by the villains that occupied them, making weaponry feel useful but not protective, absolutely shat on by this series of fucking tunnels. Needless to say, I realized that there was something so incredibly wrong and drawn out. We couldn't have had a game that doesn't breach the 10-hour mark because that's not allowed these days, even though length is no indicator of quality. This is straight up a rush to expand the amount of time people spend on the game. The quality of villains, level design, storytelling, cohesive and building gameplay for management of resources, it just prolapses the moment we leave the house, and I have a strong feeling that a separate team within the developers created it. One team for the house, one team for the ship, one team for the mines. Who really knows? But they represent some solid changes in quality for me. So there are a few observations I want to share about the AI and the way that creatures operate in the game. After Jack finds you in the recreation room, you cannot subdue him in an interesting way. You can pack as much ammo into him as you want, but he'll keep getting back up. This is disappointing to me, but more so for the people who thought they may have been able to affect him. It is established that these people simply have a damage limit. It isn't infinite. I am one to say that if it's not an arena, then I assume they are invincible. It's why I didn't kill the molded in my first attempt. I tend to avoid them, which work just as well. The thing is, you just shoot them in the head with your huge amount of ammo and you'll be fine. Aside from the quick attacks from the Spider Bros. Not to mention, as long as you know you can get to a safe room, then you are invincible. I mean, fuck, most enemies can't even open fucking doors. Regardless, as I have covered, the AI has its fucking issues. It's far from functioning as I would assume is intended. And it feels a little bit unfinished, and to my horror, it was spammed to create an ending sequence. The problem was they had no more developed villains. Oftentimes, Resident Evil ends with the protagonist chasing down the boss of the game and having an arena battle. Not only do you manage to just escape Evelyn's grasp, but she basically allows you to kill her. I think the enemies basically couldn't be more described at this point. All I can say in total is there are very few developed and interesting enemies and hundreds of terrible ones. The art of horror and devious design. Yeah, you do you, buddy. All you need to do is shoot the head every time, and you'll be fine. Now, I've gone so deep into many subjects in this series that it should be very clear that this game is highly fucking scripted, and I do not like it when games are scripted. It is antithetical to the entire fucking media. There are so many parts that stop you from being able to move or even look away. Things must be one way, and it's because they haven't created a game that can support many freedoms. Sure, you're able to choose where and when you shoot, but only when they say you're allowed to. Ethan makes several bad decisions and movements that nobody in the audience wants him to. Move away from her, she's gonna do something, run away. So I'm gonna showcase a few things. I wonder if you can spot the consistency. You can't? Ah, well, basically, they are jump scares. Several jump scares. There are moments in the game where control of the character is taken from you. Sound cues are spruced up and lighting is manipulated for maximum effect. These are things that make it into almost every single fucking review's opening, or punctuation of the fear in the game. Everyone is referencing these moments as moments of pure fear and horror when they're so fucking cookie cutter. It's like they're straight from a book called Jump Scares 101. It blows my mind how much people treat them as perfect innovations of horror. What is wrong with you people? These are in everything, and honestly, most people tend not to make it so you can't fucking move when they're happening. Jesus. You do realize that Five Nights at Freddy's does this exact same thing. It's literally what made the series famous. Yet you're gonna celebrate Resident Evil 7 for having it? Very consistent. Oh, and don't get me started on how bad the lip syncing is in this game, punctuated so fucking hard by these moments. Look at this.
Where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going? Stay the fuck out! Stay the fuck out!
I already labeled all these things that don't change based on basic choices and how disappointing that was, which means the only thing I really want to say now is one quick compliment. When you take the arm, the music cue implies that there's going to be a jump scare as soon as you turn around, but there's not. There's no person right behind you that's about to spook you. There's nothing. There's... oh. Yes, there is. It's a subversion of expectation. It's a really good one. You see, guys, I will go over this at the end, but I feel like most people feel that this game needs to be perfect or terrible. In the case of Resident Evil 7, people are saying it's perfect. I know how much we want that, and how much it's wonderful to have a perfect game conceptually, but this game has so many fucking issues. It's good, but god damn it, turns out it's just somewhere in the middle of the scale, pretty much like every other fucking game is. So why is this its little own thing? Well, because this is the linchpin of what will be introduced in the coming successful horror games thanks to PT and now Resident Evil 7. Make no mistake, people will now start to say the newer horror games are inspired by Resident Evil 7. It won't be completely true, and it will likely omit what influenced Resident Evil 7, which has practically been everything. Regardless, let's look at the game's hyperrealism, shall we? It is referred to as hyperrealism because it's getting so close to reality that we need more hyperbolic words to describe it. And I'm okay with it, I just want to be clear. Now, we have all the stuff I have said throughout the thing as support for why this is so immersive and why it's so bloody fantastic in terms of design for having players believe where they are, or at least in the first half. So when people sing its praises about hyperrealism, do they forget about the things that simply do not fly in hyperrealism? Your fucking limbs fall off. You can water or staple them back on. I'm not going into all the other shit now because it's not something I want to bore you with, but when most universes are built around us, when something weird happens that isn't normal to the universe we're used to in real life, we ask questions. We stop believing this universe. When we aren't given efficient answers, we become detached. The world, no matter how good it looks, sounds, and feels, can no longer be thought of as real. The way I look at the healing in this game is basically Deus Ex Machina. It's a trope, and it simply means that something undeveloped or unmentioned, like an object or a force, enters the scenario and changes something that was previously thought to be unchangeable. This is always used when writers put themselves in a hole. And this is where it gets important. This shit is being ignored because it's Resident Evil.
7 returns us to more of the outrageous and campy elements that I used to adore.
If you carry on with this mindset, then we're never going to be able to hold the writers to any kind of effective storytelling. People keep celebrating it for its intimate yet terrifying story for Ethan, Mia, and Evelyn, being so well written from start to finish. Despite the admittance that it's better written than what we have seen in recent years with Resident Evil, it's still kind of terrible in many parts, and if you all praise it to the heavens, then why would they improve? This is very simple. Hyper-realistic game, hyper-unrealistic things happen. And for some reason this happens.
Don't know that you picked it up and put it in your invisible pocket. It's in your inventory.
He's just gonna sit
What is
there
he doing?
laughing.
No, he puts it. He puts this bottle of Jesus juice down.
Yeah, he's put Jesus juice down. You're supposed to go
and
collect
he's
it.
waiting for you to walk up to him.
The hell?
Are you stupid or something?
He actually died because he didn't do it properly.
During that segment, you might have heard a bottle placed on the floor and Jack say, use this to fix your leg. Apparently, when this happens, he gives you a bottle of first aid chemical to use in
Oh my
reattaching.
god,
Did you not even play it?
You fucking idiot! What the fuck?
The fuck?
How did you mess that up?
How did you miss this? He's in the light, the bottle's right there.
I didn't realize this because the experience made me think I just needed to escape from Jack as quickly as possible. So
Yeah,
I
right.
bled
Idiot.
and
With your
died
leg
trying to get
off.
away.
Yeah, escape from... If Jack wanted to get you, do you really think it would be that difficult? You're a
You
fucking
think
waddling
he's
ass
just
little
missing
snail.
a
Fucking
No.
leg.
Jesus Christ, that's embarrassing.
They can do horrible, brutal things to you and then give you a few seconds to panic while trying to save yourself. And then you die. The lesson
You
from all
don't
of this?
die.
You-
You...
I was gonna say, he's actually painting his experience as one of, like, great horror when it wasn't even intentional. So yeah, people misunderstanding the content, huge glaring issues being completely ignored, narratives fighting the truth. I mean, no offense to this guy, Nick Nocturne, but even excluding his ridiculous voice, his video is hilarious. If you want to see how every fact about the game can be skewed in favor of a narrative simply because you like something, watch his video. Hell, watch all the long-form videos people have put out for this game. They all share one assessment: the game is fucking brilliant. In fact, there was one of them, I forget what the name was, but he refers to the game as perfect, and during his video he says that no game can be perfect, that all games have flaws, therefore the perfect game would have flaws, this game has flaws, and therefore this game is the perfect game. It is the most bizarre mental gymnastics I have seen in a long time, to really just ignore any faults a game has. Like, there are times where I was literally stuck in the fucking floor. How's that for immersion breaking? And you know what, if the shit in the background isn't enough of a reason to see this game is not perfect, then I really don't know what it is at this point. And that about brings us to the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There's only one more left now, but I will let you know that there is a DLC coming out for Resident Evil 7. I believe it's called Not a Hero or something like that. I'll be playing that and doing a quick video on it because obviously I've got this whole series and well, I guess it would be considered the 6th part, but it'll be on its own, a critique of Not a Hero, I guess. So, if you guys enjoyed this series, you have that to look forward to, and of course, we've only got one left now. So next time we're going to be talking about the inspiration that was dealing with this game, and a full assessment of the paid DLC, as well as a conclusion. I hope you guys have had some fun, and I will see you next time.